Yeah, I think it still has to do with your end. We're live now, so
okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I think it's a little bit better now.
All right.
Yeah, so yeah, devotees, you're welcome to Hare Krishna Africa platform. We continue. Today is a Monday. It's the beginning of a new week. And we have an amazing week ahead of us to hear wonderful pastimes of the Lord. And we're starting the week with one of our speakers who's supposed to be here is not here. So today we'll be hearing from our revered host, His Grace SAHADEVA Prabhu, as we've seen in the post. So I'm sure more devotees will be joining soon. So you're all welcome to the boat of transcendence. So SAHADEVA Prabhu, you're welcome. Thank you for taking up the responsibility. And if you're ready, we'll put the verse on the screen and then you can start.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
I'll send you a chat also, you can look at it.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chava Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyatam Tato Jayamudhirayit. Nashtaprayashu Abhadrashu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamash Loke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. So we're reading from SRIMAD Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 2, text number 5. Shirani Kimupatina Shanti Dishanti Bhiksham Nayavan Gripaha Parabretaha Sharitupi Ashishyan Ruda Guhake Madito Vati Naposhanam Kasmat Pajanti Kavayodana Durmadan Dandan Shirani Kimpatina Shanti Dishanti Bhiksham Naivan Gripaha Parabretaha Sharitupya Ashishyan Ruda Guhakim Adito Vati Naposanan Kasmat Pajanti Kavayodana Durma Dandan Shirani Kimpatina Shanti Dishanti Bhiksham Naivan Gripaha Parabreta Sartupi Ashushan Ruda Guhake Madito Vati Naposanan Kasmat Pajanti Kavayodana Durma Dandan. So we go to the synonyms, word for word translations. Shirani, torn clothes. Him, weather. Party, on the road. Na, not. Shanti, there is. Dishanti, give in charity. Bhiksham, alms. Na, not. Eva, also. Angripaha, the trees. Parabritaha, one who maintains others. Saritaha, the rivers. Api, also. Ashushan, have dried up. Rudaha, closed. Guha, caves. Kim, weather. Ajitaha, the Almighty Lord. Avati, give protection. Na, not. Upasanan, the surrendered soul. Kasmat, what for then? Bhajanti, flatters. Kavayaha, the learned. Dana, wealth. Drumada, Andan, too intoxicated by. Translation, and purport by Jagat Guru Param Guru A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Are there no torn clothes lying on the common road? Do the trees which exist for maintaining others no longer give alms and charity? Do the rivers being dried up no longer supply water to the thirsty? Are the caves of the mountains now closed? Or above all, does the Almighty Lord not protect the fully surrendered souls? Why then do the learned sages go to flatter those who are intoxicated by hard-earned wealth? This is a very interesting text, and the purport is even much more interesting. So this is Shukadeva Goswami speaking to Maharaj Parikshit. Are there no torn clothes lying on the common road? Do the trees which exist for maintaining others no longer give alms and charity? Do the rivers being dried up no longer supply water to the thirsty? Are the caves of the mountains now closed? Or above all, does the Almighty Lord not protect the fully surrendered souls? Why then do learned sages go to flatter those who are intoxicated by hard-earned wealth? Purport. The renounced order of life is never meant for begging or living at the cost of others as a parasite. That's a very strong sentence, very strong statement by Srila Prabhupada. The renounced order of life is never meant for begging or living at the cost of others as a parasite. According to the dictionary, a parasite is a sycophant who lives at the cost of society without making any contribution to that society. The renounced order is meant for contributing something substantial to society and not depending on the earnings of the householders. On the contrary, acceptance of alms from the householders by the bona fide mendicant bhikshu is an opportunity afforded by the saint for the tangible benefit of the donor. In the Sanatana Dharma institution, alms given to the mendicant is part of a householder's duty, and it is advised in the scripture that the householders should treat the mendicants as their family children and should provide them with food, clothing, etc., without being asked. Pseudo-mendicants, therefore, should not take advantage of the charitable disposition of the faithful householders. The first duty of a person in the renounced order of life is to contribute. Some literally work for the benefit of human society. Yes. For the first duty of a person in the renounced order of life is to contribute some literary work for the benefit of human being in order to give him a realized direction toward self-realization. Amongst the other duties in the renounced order of life of Srila Sanatan, Rupa Goswami, and the Goswamis of Vrindavan, the foremost duty discharged by them was to hold learned discourses amongst themselves at Sevakunj, Vrindavan, the spot where Sri Radha Damodara Temple was established by Srila Jiva Goswami, and where the actual Samadhi tombs of Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Jiva Goswami are laid. For the benefit of all in human society, they left behind them immense literatures of transcendental importance. Similarly, all the acharyas who voluntarily accepted the renounced order of life aimed at benefiting human society and not at living a comfortable or irresponsible life at the cost of others. However, those who cannot give any contribution should not go to the householders for food. For such mendicants, asking bread from the householders are an insult to the highest order. Shukadeva Goswami gave this warning especially for those mendicants who adopt this line of profession to solve their economic problems. Such mendicants are in abundance in the age of Kali. When a man becomes a mendicant willfully or by circumstances, he must be of firm faith and conviction that the Supreme Lord is the maintainer of all living beings everywhere in the universe. Why then would he neglect? That is, why then would Krishna, God, neglect the maintenance of a surrendered soul who is 100% engaged in the service of the Lord? A common master looks to the necessities of his servant. So how much more will the all-powerful, all-opulent Supreme Lord look after the necessities of life for a fully surrendered soul? The general rule is that a mendicant devotee will accept a simple small loincloth without asking anyone to give it in charity. He simply salvages it from the rejected torn cloth thrown in the street. When he is hungry, he may go to a magnanimous tree which drops fruits, and when he is thirsty, he may drink water from the flowing river. He does not require to live in a comfortable house, but should find a cave in the hills and not be afraid of jungle animals, keeping faith in God, who lives in everyone's heart. The Lord may dictate to tigers and other jungle animals not to disturb his devotee. Haridas Thakur, a great devotee of Lord Sri Chaitanya, used to live in such a cave, and by chance, a great venomous snake was a co-partner of the cave. Some admirer of Thakur Haridas agreed to the proposal on their account. No, I skipped something. A co-partner of the cave. Some admirer of Thakur Haridas who had to visit the Thakur every day feared the snake and suggested that the Thakur leave that place. Because his devotees were afraid of the snake and they were regularly visiting the cave, Thakur Haridas agreed to the proposal on their account. But as soon as this was settled, the snake actually crawled out of its hole in the cave before everyone present and left the cave for good. By the dictation of the Lord, who lived also within the heart of the snake gave preference to Haridas and decided to leave the place and not disturb him. So this is a tangible example of how the Lord gives protection to a bona fide devotee like Thakur Haridas. According to the regulations of the Sanatana Dharma institution, one is trained from the beginning to depend fully on the protection of the Lord in all circumstances. The path of renunciation is recommended for acceptance by one who is fully accomplished and fully purified in his existence. This stage is described also in Bhagavad Gita 16:5 as Daivi Sampat. A human being is required to accumulate Daivi Sampat or spiritual assets. Otherwise, the next alternative, Ashuri Sampat or material assets, will overcome him disproportionately, and thus one will be forced into the entanglement of different miseries of the material world. A sannyasi should always live alone without company, and he must be fearless. He should never be afraid of living alone, although he is never alone. The Lord is residing in everyone's heart. And unless one is purified by the prescribed process, one will feel that he is alone. But a man in the renounced order of life must be purified by the process. Thus, he will feel the presence of the Lord everywhere and will have nothing to fear, such as being without any company. Everyone can become a fearless and honest person if his very existence is purified by discharging the prescribed duty for each and every order of life. One can become fixed in one's prescribed duty by faithful oral reception of Vedic instructions and assimilation of the essence of Vedic knowledge by devotional service of the Lord. Om Ajana Timrandasya, Jana Jana Shalakaya Chakshu Amilitam, Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manopishtam, Stapitam Yena Bhutale, Swayam Rupa Katamayam, Dadati Swa Padanti Kam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam, Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsta, Shri Rupam Sagrajatam, Saragunantam, Vintam Sadivam Sadvetam, Savadutam, Parijana Sahitam, Krishna Chaitanya Devam, Shri Radha Krishna, Padam Sahagana Lalita, Shri Vishakan Vintam Scha. Namo Vishnu, Padaya Krishna, Prishtaya Bhutan. Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swamini Tinamine, Namaste Krishna Padaya, Prabhupada Shritatmane, Shri Guru Karuna Shakti, Bhakti Tita Tinamine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharani, Nirvishesha Shringavadi Pastatya Shatarini. Vanchakalpatarabhyascha kripasindhubhya ivacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavabhyo namo namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Goratvisha Namaha Nama Brahmanya Devyago Brahman Hitya Chaya Kaditaya Krishna Govindaya Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasati Guru Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Are there no torn clothes lying on the common road? Do the trees which exist for maintaining others no longer give alms and charity? Do the rivers being dried up no longer supply water to the thirsty? Are the caves of the mountains now closed? Or above all, does the Almighty Lord not protect the fullest of their souls? Why then do the learned sages go to flatter those who are intoxicated by hard-earned wealth? As conditioned living beings, when we get to know that it is our prime responsibility, it is our prime constitutional duty to serve, and the most important person to serve is God, then we try to do that. We try to serve God. And in all scriptures, God advises. God never forces, but God advises that each and every individual soul, especially souls in the bodies of the human beings, should surrender unto Him. Surrendering to God means that we renounce. What does it mean when we say one should renounce? Renunciation means to give up. So what are we giving up? We give up things that we own. There is this story that I heard from, actually it's not a story, but it's a question that somebody asked Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. He was giving a lecture, and the lecture was on surrender. And somebody asked him a question. In our world, when we say surrender, it means that one willfully approaches a superior person whom he cannot defeat or overcome and then surrenders to him, especially like we see in wars. When a superior person attacks a weaker person or a weaker force, when the weaker force tries to fight against the stronger force, and he realizes that he cannot overcome the force of the stronger entity, he willfully surrenders. So this person was asking Chaitanya Charan Prabhu that, why do I have to surrender to Krishna? After all, I'm not fighting against Krishna. So why should I surrender to Krishna? Which I find it to be a very beautiful question and very beautiful sentiment. So what does it really mean when Krishna or God says that one should renounce? Renunciation simply means that to give up this idea that we want to enjoy and gratify our senses separate from Krishna. As living entities, being part and parcels of Krishna, of God, we are all conscious and sentient beings that cannot live without happiness, because that is our nature. Every living entity, whether in the human form, in the tree form, in the animal form, in the fish form, we want happiness. And so why then do we say we do not want people to be happy? That is what the scriptures say. The scriptures do not say, do not be happy. The scriptures say we should be happy, but the scriptures also give us the formula for attaining peace and happiness. And that is putting Krishna in the center of all our activities. So Krishna, by design, expects all human beings to become sannyasis. Now, for the general people, when we talk of sannyasis, it means that you have to abandon your family, you have to abandon everything, everybody, and go to the forest. Like Shukadev Goswami was saying in the text, you do not become so much bothered by what to wear, because you find torn clothes left on the street. You pick it up, you touch it up, and you use it. The previous verse we discussed talked about using the bark of a tree as cloth. It talked about using our palm as plate in eating. It talked about using our hand, our arm as pillow when we sleep. And it talks about sleeping under the shade of a tree instead of sleeping in the house. And here again, it's talking about sleeping in the caves. It says, did the caves lock their gates? The caves never lock their gates. So Prabhupada explains in the purport that this does not mean that one should artificially renounce anything and everything and become a beggar, begging from householders and not practicing the essence of renunciation. In the Chaitanya Mangala, which was written by Lochana Dastako, it is explained therein that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was married and he decided to take sannyas, he had not mentioned it to the wife, Vishnupriya, because he knew how difficult it was going to be for Vishnupriya to hear that her beautiful husband is now going to abandon her and take to sannyas. She's not going to see him again. And so Lord Chaitanya did not tell Vishnupriya his plans that he was going to take sannyas. And eventually, rumors ran around all the time. So Vishnupriya heard a rumor that her precious, beautiful husband, Lord Chaitanya, was going to take sannyas. So one day, when she was with Lord Chaitanya, she respectfully, humbly approached Lord Chaitanya, and she placed her hand on the beautiful shoulders of Lord Chaitanya. And she said to him, "My dear Lord, I've heard that you're going to take sannyas, and I'm no more going to see you. I'm no more going to have your association. Please, is this true? And if it is true, please don't." So Lord Chaitanya listened to her, and Lord Chaitanya said to her, I wouldn't say Lord Chaitanya seemed to say lied to her, but he was very neutral to her. Lord Chaitanya said it to Vishnupriya. Says, "My dear beautiful wife, why are you so much disturbed if I am going to take sannyas? You are so much disturbed that if I take sannyas, who is going to be a companion? Who is going to take care of you? But my dear wife, don't you know that no one in this world can provide for anyone if the Lord does not will it? If the Lord does not will that you should be cared for, no matter what your efforts, you're not going to be cared for. If it is not within the will of the Lord that you become rich, you're not going to be rich no matter what you do. So don't become unnecessarily worried." And of course, Lord Chaitanya gave this beautiful philosophy to his beautiful wife, Vishnupriya. But that was not sufficient enough. And so when the Lord Chaitanya traveled and actually took sannyas and traveled, Vishnupriya became so disturbed, and she could not live in absence of Lord Chaitanya. So out of misery of losing the association of Lord Chaitanya, she passed away, she died. I say she passed away, she died, because that is how we speak as human beings. But we know that Vishnupriya is none other than Lakshmi. Lakshmi does not die. But this is to show, to indicate how difficult it is for someone to take the role of sannyas, giving up anything, everything, giving up all loved ones, and taking to preaching. It's not an easy thing, especially losing a loved one. And that is why it is said that when someone takes sannyas ashram, he is socially dead. A similar thing happened when Lord Nityananda's father, because Lord Nityananda was a very, very serviceable boy when he was a very young boy. So when Lord Nityananda was seen by one sannyasi, this sannyasi requested from Lord Chaitanya's father, Lord Nityananda's father, that I would like to have your son serve as a servant to one of my sannyasis. And because this was asked by a sannyasi, Lord Nityananda's father could not say no. He said, okay, you can take him. But out of that anguish of losing Lord Nityananda, Lord Nityananda's father also passed away. The same thing happened when Sri Ramachandra was banished to go to the forest. And he did go to the forest. Out of anguish, his father passed away. So taking this position of being a sannyas is not an easy thing. For someone to take this role as a sannyas in this social order, the varna and ashram, that means that one should be fully convinced that I am never going to depend on any human being or anything other than the Supreme Lord. And until one has come to that level of acceptance and conviction that I am solely dependent on Krishna, like Lord Chaitanya prayed in his Shastaka prayers, I am yours. Whether you embrace me or you handle me roughly, I am still yours. As living entities, we do not want to have any experience of suffering because that is not our nature. Therefore, nobody wants to suffer. But if one has to suffer to please the Supreme Lord, one who is intelligent is ready to do that. Just as no one wants to suffer, but if one has to suffer to serve and please his family, his wife, his children, an intelligent husband will be ready to do that. And therefore, when one is intelligent enough, then whether one is suffering, enjoying, as long as his efforts are meant to please in the Supreme Lord, one is ready to do that. Now, Prabhupada explains in the purport that there are some people who take this sannyas ashram as an occupational profession that they do just to roam from householders to householders and beg for alms. But Prabhupada explains that that is not what the scriptures teach. The scriptures teach that a sannyasi may go to a householder and beg for alms only as necessary to serve the Supreme Lord, not for his own self-aggrandizement. And so actually, what Krishna explains as to what sannyas means, as he gives in Bhagavad Gita. Salika Prabhu, if we may go to Bhagavad Gita chapter 6, text number 1. Text 1 and 2 of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6. Shri Krishna explains what true sannyas is. And who is a sannyasi?
Okay, I'll be going there.
Chapter 6, verse 1. We'll take verse 1 first, and then we'll go to verse 2.
Okay, I'm almost there. I'll go to chapter 6, text number.
Text number 1, the first text.
Okay. There we are.
All right, thank you. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life. And he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. And if you may scroll down to the purport, because Prabhupada says something beautiful in the purport. In the purport, let me see, going all the way. I think the second paragraph, the sannyasis sometimes, yes, the sannyasis sometimes artificially think that they have become liberated from all material duties, and therefore they cease to perform Agnihotra yajnas. But actually, they are self-interested because their goal is to become one with the impersonal Brahman. Such a desire is greater than any material desire, but it is not without self-interest. Similarly, the mystic yogi who practices the yoga system with half-open eyes, seasonal material activities, desires some satisfaction for his personal self. But a person acting in Krishna consciousness works for the satisfaction of the whole without self-interest. A Krishna conscious person has no desire for self-satisfaction. His criterion of success is the satisfaction of Krishna, and thus he is the perfect sannyas or perfect yogi. Lord Chaitanya, the highest perfectional symbol of renunciation, prays in this way. Nadanam najanam nasundarim kavitam vajagat isha kamaye mama janmani janmani shwari bhavatat bhaktir ahai tuki twayi. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor to enjoy beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. What I want only is the causeless mercy of your devotional service in my life, birth after birth. So this is the real sannyasi. A real sannyasi is one who is prepared to do anything and everything just to satisfy and please the Supreme Lord. So actually, in that same purport, Srila Prabhupada states that everyone has to act in this world to maintain his family and their paraphernalia, but no one is working without some self-interest. Everyone works with some self-interest. But those who are Krishna conscious, they only work to please the Lord. And therefore, grihastas can also become sannyasis. And in fact, it is recommended that grihastas work with the consciousness that they are working to please the Supreme Lord. And when grihastas work in that spirit and in that understanding, they are also sannyasis. Everyone is expected to live a life of sannyas. There are those who externally live that way, and therefore they wear the saffron cloth, and they live a very, very simple life. They have no family, no husband, no wife, no children to take care of. But the grihastas who have wife, children, and some responsibilities to take care of, they kind of practice their lives like that, and at the same time become detached. So Srila Prabhupada explains that grihastas live externally as very much attached to their family and their duties, but internally very much detached. Everyone is recommended to live the life of detachment, because if we do not practice the sense of detachment, then what happens when the time for detaching comes? Because whether we like it or not, we're going to be forced to detach from the very things we are very much attached to. If you are a married man, you are very much attached to your wife. Whether you like it or not, you're going to be detached from your wife. Either your wife is going to die before you, or you are going to die before your wife. If one has not learned the art of detachment before it happens, then what do? So the scriptures advise and encourage all living entities, especially human beings, to live a life of detachment and just surrender to Krishna. So if our lives are not in serving and pleasing the Lord, then we do not practice the life of sannyas. We become boga tyagis, or trying to please our own carnal senses. Now, Srila Prabhupada was quite heavy in this purport to this text, because there are some sannyasis who externally dress, try to live as sannyasis, but they live like that and just go to grihastas, householders, and ask for this, that, just to gratify their own senses, without using whatever they're requesting from the grihastas to serve in the Supreme Lord. So Srila Prabhupada condemns such lifestyle of sannyas. But sannyasis are also allowed to beg from the householders, because they need whatever they are begging from the householders to serve the Supreme Lord. And it is an outstanding benefit to the grihasta if the grihasta can be begged off by these sannyasis, and the grihasta is able to provide what the sannyasi is asking for. Because Krishna has told us that he is not very much pleased when one claims that he is his servant. But he, Krishna, God, is much more pleased when one serves his servants. So Krishna is more pleased when we serve the servants of his servants of his servants. In other words, when we serve the devotees of the Lord, then Krishna becomes more pleased. Now it behoves each and every one to understand that this service I'm rendering this service to the right person. If someone is very kind, very generous, you want to help, but you also want to help the right person for the right reason. And therefore, as devotees, we, especially like devotees in ISKCON, we know we have those who are sannyasis, and every sannyasi should be treated as a guru. Just as Lord Nityananda, when he was a young boy and was given to this sannyasi was not like initiating guru at the time. but Lord Nityananda served him as his guru. So scripturally speaking, every sannyasi in that sannyas order is a guru. One may not formally be taking discipleship, but every sannyasi should be treated and considered as a guru. And therefore, when one serves such a person who does not have any self-motivational reason for asking for this or that from whomever, and when one is able to offer whatever is being asked by such people, then the punya of giving out such requested item becomes multifolded punya to that particular person who gave what was requested from the by the sannyasi. Grihastas could also be serving as sannyasis, just like I said. So if a grihasta needs a particular help to serve the Supreme Lord, then another grihasta can also offer that requested item. The whole essence is that we are all trying to serve the Supreme Lord. Whether one is a grihasta, whether one is a brahmachari, whether one is a vanaprastha, whether one is a sannyasi, vanaprasthas, grihastas, brahmacharis, all these three ashrams are all requested or disciplined to live their lives as sannyasis. Salika Prabhu, if any devotee has question, comments, please, we may do that. And then we'll
okay, thank you very much, Masadi Prabhu.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for the class. I'm sorry, I also had to join something right now. So
okay.
I'll leave it up to you. I've given you the host. Please
all
continue
right.
from here.
Hare
Forgive
Krishna.
me. Yes.
Hare Krishna. So anyone with any question or comment, please, you may do that before we bring this to a close. The topic we're discussing is renunciation and not abusing this opportunity of being in the renounced order of life. Yes. Actually, when Krishna was speaking to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Krishna had told Arjuna to become a sannyasi. So how do we understand that? Somebody who is a military man is on the battlefield fighting, and Lord Krishna tells him to become a sannyasi. So when Krishna told Arjuna to become sannyasi, he was not telling him that, hey, my dear Arjuna, quit from this battlefield and go put on the garb of a sannyas and then hold the tridandi rod. No. He was saying, fight and leave the results to me. That is true renunciation. So I had mentioned chapter 6, text 1, and I'll put it up here and then we'll see. We'll go back to what Krishna said. So the text 2 of chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita says what is called renunciation Krishna is explaining to Arjuna what is called renunciation. You should know to be the same as yoga, or linking oneself with the Supreme, O son of Pandu. For one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is explaining that the living entity has no separate independent identity, okay? And here, this is practiced by the yogis who restrain the senses from material attachment. But this is where I'm looking for. But a person in Krishna consciousness has no opportunity to engage his senses in anything which is not for the purpose of Krishna. Therefore, a Krishna conscious person is simultaneously a sannyasi and a yogi. Why? Because he does not do anything with self-interest. In other words, whatever a Krishna conscious person does is to satisfy the senses of the Supreme Lord. And when the senses of the Supreme Lord are satisfied, then he becomes satisfied. There was this narration I heard from His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He was narrating the Chaitanya Bhagavat, and he was describing how it is described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat that the gopis, for us as normal human beings, when we do something, even as we practice devotional service, we want to develop some satisfaction, some happiness, some bliss. Like when you chanting, when you are in kirtan, you're singing, you're dancing, and you become so ecstatic. You feel it, you enjoy it, and you keep doing. But that is contrary to the gopis. When the gopis perform devotional service to the Supreme Lord, and since it is the nature of devotional service to give bliss, when you perform devotional service, you feel it, you feel bliss. So when the gopis perform devotional service and they experience bliss, and they see that Krishna is not blissful, they stop it. Because to them, why would they be blissful? Why would they be happy when Krishna is not happy? This is a topmost level of God consciousness, that all we do is to serve the Supreme Lord. And so Srila Prabhupada oftentimes will refer to the Christian prayers that Lord Jesus Christ taught all people to pray, the Lord's Prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy will be done. Thy kingdom come. No. Give us this day our daily bread. So Srila Prabhupada oftentimes will quote this, that we're asking God to give us bread. We only do that when we are children. When we are children, we ask our Father for this, for that, for this, for that. But we're not going to be children forever. We're going to grow and become adults. When we become adults, we rather think of how we're going to serve and please our parents. So now we become adults. What are we planning to do to please the Lord? No. So that is the question we all have to ask ourselves. What are we planning to do to serve and to please the Lord? Hare Krishna. Well, I think we may ask devotees to unmute, and we all Dr. Hassan, you have a question? All right, if you have a question, you may unmute and go ahead to ask your question, please.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble respect, obeisance.
Yeah, I have got a
Please, for somebody who is not a devotee, if you have to explain to him or her that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, and he was having a wife, what is the best way to explain to the person? Because the person might think, how is it possible that God have a wife? And he will be, it is very difficult for that person to understand. So what is the best way to explain for the person to understand that he is God himself? When it comes to in terms of he has a wife.
Thank you so much for the question. That is a very relevant question, because you will never get to hear anything about God and wife and God and his playmates who are women and men until they come to 10 of the SRIMAD Bhagavatam, by which time one would have read and understood the position of Krishna from Cantos 1 to Canto 9. And then after one has read the Bhagavatam, then you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, and these very intimate pastimes of the Lord can be understood. So for someone who is not a devotee, it is best to avoid telling them about God and his wife, God and his girlfriends. If possible, avoid telling them that, because it's going to agitate their minds and may not even be willing to hear from you anymore.
Yeah.
That you must be crazy, that God has a wife. And in fact, even like the story I was talking about, Lord Chaitanya and his wife, Vishnu Priya. When Vishnu Priya passed away as a result of losing or missing the association of Lord Chaitanya, when Lord Chaitanya came back and was told, he was also lamenting, just like an ordinary living entity. And so this God's wife died and God himself was crying. You must be crazy. You must be out of your mind.
Yeah.
So for non-devotees and even devotees who are neophytes, such topics are not recommended. So in case somebody has read from the books and happens to ask you such question, then we may attempt to answer because he has read, he has come across it. And so to me, the best way I try in my capacity to explain such a topic to non-devotees and even neophyte devotees is that, one, there is nothing happening in this world or in any other world that is not coming from God. Everything, so-called good, so-called bad, they are coming from God. Nothing can happen outside of God. So just as me and you may refer to each other as friends, God can also refer to another person as a friend. Just as God referred to Abraham, that you are my friend. God referred to Abraham as his friend. God referred to Moses as his prophet and servant. Just as we human beings, we have servants, God also has servants. God referred to Jesus as his son. Just as me have a son, God can also have a son, which is quite difficult for some Muslims in particular, that how can God have a son? Because in order to have a son, you must have a wife. And we say that because we liken God to our level of life. But the difference between God and me as ordinary human being is that I can only eat through my hand, picking the food, putting it in my mouth, going through my throat, into my stomach, into my intestines, and then I get nourished. Whereas God eats, but does not have to put the food in his mouth, because all his senses can perform the action of the other senses. And so even though God eats, but he does not have to put the food in his mouth. Just by seeing it, he eats it. So God has to teach us how to live our lives in this world. God wants us to serve him. If he himself does not demonstrate how to serve him, how will we know how to serve him? And so the Lord himself comes down to demonstrate how to do that. And so in one time in our life, God appeared as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and lived and married. And when he married, his wife died. And when the wife died, he remarried. And then at some point, he renounced the wife. Lord Chaitanya himself was a very beautiful person. His wives, both Vishnu Priya and Lakshmi Priya, were very beautiful. Yet he renounced and took to sannyas. So he is demonstrating that in this world, when you have a very beautiful wife, it's very difficult to detach yourself from that beautiful wife. But he came to demonstrate how to do it. Because if he did not come to demonstrate how to do it, there is no better person to demonstrate. And so he himself came to demonstrate how to live in this world, but not of the world. So he came to demonstrate it. But that does not mean that God needs or requires a wife. But he comes to demonstrate it for us earthly beings to see it, because we always say, seeing is believing.
Yes.
So when we see somebody do that and how he did it, then by such observation, we can also practice the same. And so Lord Chaitanya came. And in order for us to be convinced that this Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Lord, he did so many things that no human being can do. And for example, he was able to convert animals, wild animals, to chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Who can do that? Of course, there are other great devotees, like we read from the scriptures, how Haridas Thakur was living in the cave with a venomous snake.
Yeah.
And these great personalities, they come to demonstrate. We know Haridas Thakur, even though he appeared in the family of Muslims, he became the Namacharya. No ordinary human being can do that. It is Lord Brahma himself who came and took birth in the family of Muslims, and he became a devotee. So that we can also learn that if you are a Muslim, it doesn't matter. If you know the truth, if you see the truth, you can become a Vaishnava devotee.
Yeah.
So sometimes the Lord himself comes, or other times he sends his great devotees, great servants, to come and demonstrate for us, the conditioned souls, to see it and try to live it. But ultimately, it is neither a very good idea to preach such high, intimate teachings of the Lord to non-devotees. And so one characteristic of a very good preacher is that you have to access the level of your recipient and you preach to him or her accordingly. That is the proper way of preaching.
Yeah,
but
thank you.
we are distributing our books. Everybody is reading, everything is said anywhere and everywhere. So depending on the level of the person asking the question, you first of all have to ask him a few questions to gauge his level. And then you can speak to him or her accordingly, which oftentimes comes with experience.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, but thank you so much for the question.
Yeah, thank you so much. Because actually I have a friend, and he was watching Ramachandra in Netflix in the US.
Yeah.
And always he'll be telling me, I'm watching your people, you know.
Yeah.
So I was finding it very difficult to tell the person that it's God, because I don't know how to describe, because already he has some issues with Hare Krishna people, but really enjoying the series. So sometimes I feel like explaining, but I was thinking it's not good idea. That's why I'm asking this.
Yeah. I think you took the right steps by not telling him this is God, until let him enjoy it.
Yes.
Let him
Even
enjoy.
I'm trying to find it here Netflix, but we don't have it here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let him enjoy. Let him enjoy the Ramayan series. Once he's watching, he's enjoying it. The Lord is in the heart. Srila Prabhupada was explaining the purpose that the Lord is in the heart of Hare Thakur. The Lord is in the heart of the devotees who were coming to serve Hare Thakur. And the Lord is also in the heart of that venomous snake in the cave. So the Lord, when it was appropriate, inspired the snake to walk out of the cave. You know, and so once he's watching, the Lord is in his heart. And at the appropriate time, the Lord will inspire him that he will have more eagerness to try to know more about what he's reading, watching. And by Krishna's grace, because Krishna says from him comes remembrance, forgetfulness, and knowledge, we are all Krishna conscious beings. We've just forgotten. So at the appropriate time, when Krishna feels it is time for me to remember this person, who I am and his relationship with me, Krishna will do that. So you did the right thing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Shri Pavi, Pavitra Prabhu, please
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Good to see you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the nice class.
Hare Bo, thank you for blessing me.
Yeah, in the scriptures, Lord Krishna married 16,108 wives. And even before he left the planet, he didn't divorce them. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got married to 2 wives, but he left them to take sannyas. And it is said that whatever great men do, common men follow. Why should Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu leave his wives to take sannyas?
Well, good. That's a very good question. So the Supreme Lord, like I was
You hear my question?
Yeah, can you hear me? Pavitra Prabhu, can you hear me? I heard you. Well, I guess you all heard Pavitra Prabhu's question, that Lord Krishna the 16,108 wives, and he did not abandon any. Lord Chaitanya had 2 wives, and he renounced them to take sannyas. And he's talking about, chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita, where it says that whatever actually great man does, common men follow. So what do we learn? by these two different scenarios of Krishna. In the first place, when Lord Krishna married 16,108 wives, he was teaching us what to do. He did not teach us how to do things. And so Lord Krishna, understanding that his pastimes as Vasudeva Krishna, he only taught what to do and did not teach how to do it, came back to teach us how to do it. So as Vaishnava devotees, when it comes to how to perform things, we take more cue from Lord Chaitanya, much more than Lord Krishna, Vasudeva Krishna. Because Vasudeva Krishna, oftentimes in his pastimes, was just pastimes to enjoy himself as the Supreme Lord, like the Aishwarya Bhava. But when he appeared as Lord Chaitanya, that is why Lord Chaitanya considers himself a devotee and observes Ekadashi. Lord Krishna didn't observe Ekadashi, but Lord Chaitanya did. So Lord Chaitanya came to teach us as living beings, as Krishna Bhaktas, how we have to live our lives. So yes, Lord Chaitanya married and he renounced the wife. So when one marries, at some point, one has to renounce the wife. I do not know if you were here when we were going over the true essence of renunciation. There are two aspects. One aspect of renunciation is putting on the sannyas robe, holding on the tridandi, living a very simple life, not having a house, not having a place to lay your head. You keep moving, you keep roaming. And then there is another aspect of sannyas. That is, you can be anything, anybody, but you give up the fruits of your labor. Your fruits of labor is solely to satisfy the Supreme Lord. That is sannyas. Like we were explaining, Lord Krishna told Arjuna to become a renunciate when he was talking to him on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. But that did not mean that Arjuna should throw down his arms and then remove the quiver from his back and go put on sannyas saffron cloth and carry the tridandi rod. No, Lord Krishna was telling Arjuna, give up this idea that this belongs to me, that belongs to me, that I'm going to lose this, I'm going to lose that. They are mine. Give up this false identification. Just surrender unto me and follow my instructions and orders. So when one is in the Grihastha ashram, Brahmachari ashram, Vanaprastha ashram, Sannyasi ashram, and has this conviction, this understanding, and this pursuit that all my actions are simply to please and serve the Supreme Lord, he is a perfect sannyas. I don't know if that helps answer your question, Pavitra Prabhu. Well, thank you for the questions. And at this point, if there is no question, no comment to share, we may bring the class to a close by following our routine ritual. We're going to humbly request all the devotees to kindly unmute, and we all chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our appreciation to the Supreme Lord for bringing us all together. Let me see, it seems Anadine Danam has a question in the chat room. All right, Anadine Danam has a question here. This question is, Hare Krishna Prabhu, as far as curse is concerned, can a curse have effect on an innocent person? That's his question. Can a curse have effect on an innocent person? If yes, please explain. Especially father cursing his children for what the children are innocent of. This is a very detailed and complex topic, because in order for us to understand what curse is and why curse takes effect or a curse does not take effect, we have to go into certain very detailed topics, which could be both metaphysical and spiritual. There is a difference between metaphysics and spiritualism. There are natural laws in this material universe. Just as when you add atoms of hydrogen and oxygen together, you get water. If you have a CD player and you put a very working CD in the machine and you press the play, the CD is going to play. It doesn't matter who presses the play button. But in order for the CD player to play the CD you put in must be free of any defects. And the CD player must be free of any defects. When the CD is free of defects, the CD player is free of defects, and you as an individual person, you are able to press the play button. Then you're going to get the music or whatever is on the CD player. So that is how curses work. There are laws in this material world. And when things are aligned, in other words, the person who is pronouncing the curse is the right person to pronounce the curse. And the person being cursed is the right person to be cursed. Then the curse will take effect. If the person cursing has no power to curse, then even though the person being cursed may be liable to be cursed, the curse will not take effect. And if the person who is cursing is very powerful, but the person being cursed is not subjected to the curse, then the curse will not take effect. And there are other instances where the person being cursed may be innocent and may not be subjected to suffer the curse, yet the curse will take effect because of the enormous power of the person pronouncing the curse. The only way and the surest way that one may avoid curses is when one surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. because nothing can work without the sanction of Krishna. If Krishna does not want to sanction a particular curse that has been pronounced, then Krishna will nullify the curse. Otherwise, Krishna will leave all these different curses to nature. When we talk of nature, that is Durga. That is why this world, this domain is called Durgadam. It's a domain belonging to Devi, Durga. And so Durga has put certain things in place, certain laws. And when one is not a servant of Krishna, one becomes a servant of Durga, of this material nature. And therefore the laws binding this material nature applies to those who are non-devotees of the Lord. Those who are devotees of the Lord are above this material nature, and therefore they are above the laws of this material nature. Even though they are above the laws of material nature, they do not whimsically go against the laws of material nature, because they respect and honor that this nature is also part of Krishna. And because they love Krishna, they love everything about Krishna. So yes, curses may take effect or may not take effect, depending on these two factors. Whether one is surrendered to Krishna. If one is surrendered to Krishna, then whatever curses is projected against such a Krishna Bhakta or Bhaktin is nullified, because only Krishna will make it happen or not happen. But if someone is not a devotee of the Lord and therefore is under the jurisdiction of Durga, then depending on the factors as I gave about CD and the CD player, that is when it works as such. Hare Krishna, Srimad Bharata Prabhu, you may unmute and give your contribution in this regard, or whatever contribution. Thank you.
Harivar.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Yeah, so I was driving when you were explaining about this course and its effect. So I didn't get everything you were saying, but I can make some contribution anyway.
Yes, please. Can you please check your audio? It's a little unclear.
No problem. It's okay.
Yeah, much better now.
Yeah, like if we speak the same local language, it would have been easy for me to explain. Yorubas have different terms for curse and swearing. So somebody can be, they can swear for somebody, but it's different from a curse. They swear, like the example of father and child. Yes, that can take effect. The father can swear for his child. He can swear against, you know, the word is swear. So curse is opposite of blessing.
Bless,
yeah. But there is a word for it in my language, which is very clear. Now, a curse is pronounced when something happens, usually, and that is why it cannot affect innocent person. When a curse is pronounced, it's because something has happened. And then they say, if anyone who does this, anyone who is responsible for this, may this and this and this and this happen to that person. May all his family die. May all this, that's heavy curses will be rained. Now, if you know that you do something, better come out. Otherwise, all those curses will take effect. You understand? So usually curses are pronounced when something negative has happened and people want to counteract it or bring out the offender. let the person confess. So a curse is pronounced. Curse can also be pronounced, maybe when you commit offense against a great person and so on. Curse also can be pronounced. But usually the word for that is swear. There's another word for it. It's swear. They say they swear for him. I don't know whether it is proper English, but some maybe, this word swearing is being used so often in different English, maybe I don't know whether it's Pidgin, whether it's Creole. But then when they say they swear for you, that means it's also like being cursed. But that person is like giving you the opposite of a blessing, malediction, But curse in generally, Yoruba call it ekpe. So when they use that, it is when something bad has happened and they want to go get to the bottom of it. They start raining curses. And whoever is responsible, this and this and this will happen to that person. So in that case, we can say curse does not affect an innocent person. Is that clear? In that case, we can say curse does not affect an innocent person. But they can swear for an innocent person. But then Lord Chintan, like in line with what we were saying, if somebody is a devotee. So Lord Chintan said, yeah, an innocent person may suffer, but for a short time. So even if he sworn, like Arjun, it was also cursed in that kind of, they swear for in the heavenly planet that he will become Enoch because he refused to, sleep with the woman who has slept with her forefathers,
Yeah.
He was cursed. That is the kind of swearing. They swear for him.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether it's proper English, but it is being used often. They say they swear for this person. So that swearing for him means that instead of blessing, they gave him some malediction. Okay, but curses usually it's when something bad has happened or done, and they want to really scare people out of it or to put some curse on those who have done that. That if you are innocent, it will not happen to you. But if you are not innocent, yeah, you can get out of it.
Yeah.
So that's just my contribution. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the contribution. It helps a lot. Yes. Another Niranam, if you're still here, I hope these contributions help answer your question somehow.
Yes, Prabhu, it really does. Actually, I was in a vehicle, so that's why I couldn't speak.
Okay.
The vehicle is uninstalled, that's why I have to speak. So it clears my doubt. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
because a friend of mine is worried about this situation, that's why I need to.
Okay.
Ask the question, hence I will be able to give me a tangible answer. So it clears my doubt. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Well, we read from the Bible how the Bible advises us all to honor our parents. So our parents are so powerful that whatever they wish for us as children oftentimes happen because of the intense love they have for us. And therefore, it is advised in all scriptures that one honors their father and mother. The only time one may disobey the parents is if the parents are making the child do things against the Supreme Lord. Then one may disobey. We have lots of examples in our scriptures. Otherwise, the normal standard is that every child obeys and honors the parents. So whoever this friend of yours is, if there is a way you can encourage the guy to be respectful to the parents, that might also help.
Yeah, I want to give a short story.
Okay, please go ahead.
A quick short story. An old man sent a young chap to go and sell chicken for him. The old man. So he gave him the chicken. He said, please sell this chicken for me at 2,500. So the boy went and sold the chicken 2,500. And then he came back and gave the old man 1,500 and told the old man that he couldn't get somebody to buy it at 2,500, so he has to sell it at 1,500. So, and the old man said, "Thank you very much, my son. Thank you. And what you have done for me, may your children also do that for you. What you have done for me, may your children pay you back very good in multiple ways. May your children do this for you." So the guy was about to go, but the old man kept saying, "May your children also pay you back the same way. Thank you very much. May your children reward you the same way, even more. The boy came back and said, "Baba, take your daughter." He just gave me back all the money. That is like a curse. But he said, giving blessing, but it's like a curse. Because the guy is not innocent. The guy is not innocent. So he said, "What you've done, thank you. May your children also give you back many times over what you've done for me." So his conscience started troubling him. Because the old man kept repeating it, Then he thought back, he said, "Baba, take your 2,000, take all your money." So it's okay. So this is curse. Once your hand is not clean, then curse will really have effect on you. So curse cannot have effect. If he had sold and he had given the correct money, he would not have been afraid. He would have just been thankful and will have gone. It's like blessing for him. But the blessing is like a curse because he has done something wrong. It's not innocent. It's not innocent. Oh, sorry. I don't know. Is my voice clear?
It's okay.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Well, thank you for this story. It's a very nice illustration. I have a friend who told me his father told him to always be careful around people who do not believe in law of karma. So this guy whom this elderly man asked to sell the chicken for and was trying to hide the 1,500. He believes in law of karma because he knew that, well, if my children are going to do the same thing to me, I don't want it, So that reminded me of that experience. Pavitra Prabhu, please, you may unmute. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that Sarva Dharma Parikshaya Mam Ekam Sarma Vraja Aham Twam Sapebhyo Moksha Sami Masuchaha. Abandon all variety of religion and just render unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. In the Mahabharata, we see, you are saying in your class that anybody who surrenders unto Krishna, he will not be affected by any cause. But we see in the Mahabharata, after the 100 sons of Gandhari were murdered, they are killed in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Gandhari said, "Krishna, you are the cause. Because of this, I'll cause you that all your family will be killed like this." And the cause took an effect. Krishna's children have to kill themselves, kill each other because of that cause. So if cause can affect the Supreme Person of Godhead, how about ordinary human beings?
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for the beautiful question.
Thank you.
It's very interesting. When we watch movies, we get so much attracted to the movies. But sometimes when we are fortunate enough to go behind the movies, then we have a better understanding of what the movie is all about. And actually, we do not actually become very much attracted to the movies. If you've watched the Titanic, that huge ship that got drowned, thousands of people perished. If you knew the sort of water they used to make that movie, you'll be shocked. So when we go behind the movie, we realize that, oh, this huge ship we're seeing is not actually what was used. So, yes, there are lots of curses in our scriptures. Lots of people were cursed and they took effect, but lots of the time, they are all, like I said, they are all pastimes. For example, when we know from the scriptures that Dwaraka is Lord Krishna's city. It was not constructed by any ordinary human being. It was constructed by Vishwakarma, the architect of the demigods himself. And therefore, it is not meant for conditioned ordinary human beings. And because all these beings living in Dwaraka were all divine beings from higher planetary systems that came to partake in the Lord Krishna's pastimes. After Krishna had left, they also had to go back to their various abodes. And the only way to make that happen, because nobody can kill them, was that they kill each other. So when Gandhari cursed Krishna, Krishna smiled and told Gandhari that, I accept your curse. I've already willed it. I've already willed it to happen that way. So you are not the primary cause of what is going to happen. You are the secondary cause. I used you to make this happen. But I had already planned this long time ago, that as soon as I leave, all my associates are also going to leave. So if we go behind what we're reading in black and white as Gandhari cursing Krishna, we'll get to understand that Krishna actually let Gandhari curse him. Just as Lord Krishna allowed the hunter to shoot at the stones. The hunter, that's Mrigari of Krishna, and he was lamenting. Krishna says, no, don't worry. I designed this. I made this to happen. So yes, who can curse Krishna for the curse to take effect? When somebody curses, it means that there are supreme higher beings who are going to make the words pronounced take effect. And who is that higher supreme being other than Krishna to make the curse take effect? Krishna willed it, and he made it happen as such. So yes, for a devotee, I did not actually say that a devotee cannot be cursed and the curse take effect. I was saying that for a devotee, it is up to Krishna. If Krishna wants the curse to take effect, it will take effect. If Krishna does not want the curse to take effect, it will not take effect. Because the pure devotees of the Lord do not actually care about what happens to them, because they know they are fully surrendered to Krishna. And just like you beautifully quoted, 1866, those who surrender to Krishna, they need fear nothing, because they are in the hands of Krishna. In the Bible, Christ asked the disciples and the Sadducees, who were doubters, that who amongst you will give your son stone when your son asks you for bread? Who will give their kids serpent when the kid asks for fish? If you will not do that, how then do you think that our Almighty Father, the Lord, will give us something that will go against us, that will hurt us? So if we ordinary beings will give all protection to our children, what to speak of Krishna? And that is the topic, the theme of discussion today. that those who are sannyasis, they are fearless. They are bad, fearless. So grihastas, they do whatever they do, but they have the strong, unflinching faith that the Supreme Lord is my protector. Whatever he wants to happen, it will happen. Whatever he does not want to happen, it will not happen. That is the full conviction as devotees we need to have in Krishna. Whether somebody is cursing us, somebody is not cursing us, we care less. Provided, and this is very important, provided we are very, very much surrendered to Krishna and have full faith in Krishna and full dependence on Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. So I think at this point, we're going to humbly request all the devotees to kindly unmute, and we all chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our appreciation for the Supreme Lord bringing us together once again, beginning of another week. Jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Hare,
Krishna,
Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama.
Adi Prabhu ki jai.
SRIMAD